It's pretty simple, really. If you want people to stay on your team or in your company, then you probably shouldn't wait until they're already leaving to figure out how to make their job better. Hey leader, David Burkus here, organizational psychologist and author of 4 best-selling books on helping leaders and teams do their best work ever. And what if I told you I could reduce turnover on your team or in your whole company by 40%? And it wouldn't cost you anything but time. One of the reasons stay interviews work so well is truthfully they recognize that people don't work for you. They don't work for your paycheck alone. They don't wake up every day excited to be bossed around by you or the organization. They have their own reasons for it. And if we want to make their job more engaging, we want to play to those reasons much more often. We know that as the Great Resignation or the Great Reshuffle makes it harder and harder to find qualified people in your roles, we know that the employee experience is hugely important to predicting A, whether or not people who do work for us are going to perform well and do their best work ever, but B, how long they're gonna stick around for us. So in this episode, we're gonna talk about how to run a stay interview, an informal one-on-one conversation about that employee, their job, and how to make it better. First thing to say about stay interviews is that these are not the formal feedback sessions or annual performance review sessions that you may be used to having in one-on-one sessions with your team. In fact, other than your own kind of notes to hand out, this isn't a big thing that needs to get documented, signed off on, agreed upon, and then we'll calculate your merit raise every year or something like that. In fact, it works best if it's seen as an informal one-on-one discussion. You want to set yourself up for success here by sending a message to that individual employee, maybe to all the employees on your team over the next couple of weeks, and just say, hey, you're a high performer. I enjoy having you on the team, and I'd love to talk about how we can make your job and our team better. Would you be up for about a 30 to 45-minute chat about that? And then send the calendar invite. Leave right off the bat, they're not in trouble. This isn't about improving their performance. This is just about getting their feedback on how you're doing as a leader and what you could fight for throughout a whole organization to make their job better. When you get to the interview, you're gonna wanna ask them a few questions. You're gonna wanna have them prepared ahead of time. And so I'm gonna give you my favorite 5. You can do whatever variations on these feel appropriate, but understand the rationale behind each of these 5 before you tailor it to your team, your industry, your organization. First question to ask someone on your team during a stay interview is, what do you look forward to when you start your workday? In other words, we want them to think back to the beginning of a day. Maybe it's their commute to work. Maybe it's as they're booting up their computer from their guest bedroom or their home office, if they work remotely, whatever it is, when they're beginning the day, what are they looking forward to? What tasks do they enjoy doing the most often, right? We want to know what that is. Maybe it's the meetings with the team. Maybe they really love the social component of that, and because of the way we've arranged schedules, they're not getting enough of it. Maybe it's a specific task that they absolutely love doing, and now we know and we can figure out how to give them more of it. We want to use that moment of anticipation as a clue to when they're doing their best work and when they're most engaged at work. So start by asking, what are they looking forward to? The next question to ask during a stay interview, what are you learning in your job? Now, learning specifically, not what have you learned? That's a past tense. That might talk about the ways that we trained you, the ways we prepared you for the role. We want to be thinking about how they're continuing to grow. We know that a potent human motivator is progress. The feeling that I'm making progress in a job or the feeling that I'm making progress in a career, we want to know that we're growing. And as a result, we need to be talking about learning in the present tense. And by the way, if they have no answer, this is a huge red flag that we need to be thinking about how we can help them grow in the future. The third question to ask during a stay interview is, why do you stay with us? Why are you still with this organization? And we don't want superficial answers here. We don't want them to say, oh, well, you pay really, really well, or I enjoy the healthcare or something like that. Those may be the reasons, or they may be the first reasons people think of, but we want the deeper reasons. What keeps them from looking for another job? And we want those reasons to be internal, not external. Obviously, we want those reasons to not be, well, the economy's really bad right now, or well, I'm not so sure I could get paid to do the same job somewhere else, so I stick around here. We want them to be internal to our team, to our organization, or the clients we serve, something about the job or the organization they're a part of. And if they're not, if there are no answers that are internal and not superficial, then that is another big red flag that we have a problem that we need to begin to work on. And hopefully some of the answers that we're getting from these other questions will help us help them find an internal reason why they stay. The fourth question to ask during a stay interview, and this one requires a little bit of trust between you and your employee, is When was the last time you thought about leaving? I mean, look, the reality is everybody thinks about leaving. Everybody has late nights where they're flirting around on Indeed or Monster.com. Everyone gets calls from recruiters, or at least everyone you want to keep gets calls from recruiters to talk about new opportunities or gets referred for new jobs from past coworkers. It happens. It's part of the professional life, and we can be honest about that fact. They're still here, which means thus far every opportunity they've looked at, they've made the decision to stay. But it's useful to know what opportunities are catching their attention. Maybe it's an opportunity to do something totally different, and we can find that role for them inside our organization. Maybe it's just a task that they really enjoy and they think switching to a different company will let them do more of it. And as a result, we can help rework their job to help them do more of it. We want to know what caught their attention. We know everybody looks around from time to time. We want to know what caused their gaze to linger for a moment and actually consider leaving, and see if there's a way we can help make their current job better by bringing them more of what they see and the outside. The fifth and maybe final question to ask during a stay interview is, how can I make your job better? What can I do that will make your job better? Ideally, you've had a very candorous conversation here. Ideally, you've had an open and honest and transparent talk about why they enjoy their job, what would lead them to decide to look somewhere else, etc. And so you already have some hints here, but you want to create an open door. You want to send the message that you are open to just about anything. At least hearing anything that will make their job better. Doesn't mean you're committing to it, doesn't mean you even have the ability to do it, but you want to know what it is. The other thing this does is this gives you feedback as an individual manager. Maybe you check in with them too often. Maybe you don't check in with them often enough. Maybe you make jokes you think are funny because you were raised on sarcasm. That's me, by the way. Maybe there's some other element of their collaboration or their communication that they would just appreciate changing a little bit. You never know if you're not going to ask, so you might as well ask. This is your last opportunity before you close that meeting to just ask, what can I do that'll help you do your best work ever? These 5 questions, or your own variations of them, it should lead you to about a 30 or 45-minute conversation. And that's great. Thank them generously for it. Mention to them that you're going to reflect on this and that you will circle back with them. And then reflect on the answers and circle back with them. Take some time to look at their answers, especially if you're going to ask this individually of your whole team over the next couple of weeks or months. Take some time to look at the trends. And then when it's done, whether it's that individual employee or the whole team, come back to them and thank them for their feedback and tell them what you learned from that process. You do not have to restate every single thing you heard. You could just keep it to the trends, but you do have to let them know that they were heard by telling them what you learned from this process. And you have to make some changes. And if you do that, you're gonna help make individual jobs better, which will make people more engaged when they're on the team. That'll make the team better, and it'll continue this process of making work and the team better until everybody is doing their best work ever. Oh, and one more thing. If you're trying to keep valuable members on your team, you're gonna wanna make sure that they feel appreciated. So check out this video here on how to help employees feel appreciated. I think you're really going to appreciate watching this video. I know, super lame, right?